Hello. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? Welcome to the stream. Just thought I'd just kick it off straight up like this. Am I a Who fan? As in Doctor Who? One time, a wee story from Doctor Who. One time, I was watching a quiz show called Mastermind, where different people have, uh, good luck with your essay, where different people have different specialist subjects, and one person had as their specialist subject as Doctor Who in the series 2005 to 2010, and I got more questions right. I got every question right, more than the person who was supposedly a mastermind on this issue. So yeah, I like Doctor Who. We're just gonna start off with first thing we're gonna do. We've got a wee bassline music going on. I will make this tune. We'll get this tune built up a bit more, and then I'm gonna crack open my wine because, I need a weekend. We're all stuck in here. Hello from Bangladesh. Hey, what's up, Noah? Well, welcome to the stream. 05 to 10 is a golden era. Yeah, so let's hope this wine this week is fucking not the toilet water that I was drinking a couple of weeks ago, because that was bad. Yeah, I am feeling better. For anyone who doesn't know, because I haven't moaned about it enough, I get sort of migraines sporadically between, sometimes it can be a few months and I get none, sometimes it'll be like 3 and 2 weeks, and they're debilitating and not fun. And that I was meaning to do this last night, but had one of them and couldn't do anything. So yeah, welcome to the stream. Welcome, and I hope we're gonna enjoy ourselves. This is just the fucking chill zone. We're entering the chill zone. Anyone who's not in the UK right now, we've got a storm called Storm Eunice, which is a bad name for a storm, but it's keeping folk inside because the wind is bad. Not the worst wind I've ever seen, but it's bad wind, and apparently London transport can't cope with that. So we're keeping things chill. No, it's a bad loop. It's not a very good loop pedal, but thanks to Tinfoil Pain last time, who gave an incredibly big super chat, which is unprecedented. I'm going to be investing in a new one that's got this one is fucking terrible. 30-second loops and that's it. And it's just bad. It's a bad loop pedal. But I'm going to be investing in a better one that's got more than 30 seconds loops and also has like drum tracks programmed in, which might be quite useful. We do our best with what we've got. I've had this one for, oh god, almost 10 years now. That's a long time. So we're upgrading. First pedal upgrade I'll have had in like 10 years. that's some background chill while I open my wine. And this is the big moment, whether or not I've bought filth wine again. Like I said last week, you always go for the wine on deal. This wine was down from £7.90 to £6.50. It doesn't smell as bad as last time, which made me fucking physically recoil. This wine is good. It's not even just tolerable, it's good. Oh, we've hit the fucking jackpot, lads. It's a good sign for the weekend. We've actually got wine that isn't terrible. What wine is it? It is Chardonnay. Australian Barossa Riverland. Chateau Tanada. That's what the sommeliers will be like. Yeah, this one is good, 13%, which is a good sign. 13% is good. Not that I'm encouraging unhealthy drinking habits on the corporately responsible platform of YouTube. So basically today I just thought it'd be nice to... I have one thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to wait until I'm a bit more drunk because I'm going to need to be a bit more drunk to talk about it, and that is the film The King's Man, which was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm probably going to lose my mind a little bit talking about that. But right now we're keeping things chill. We've got some chill music in the background. We'll take a few more sips and we'll fuck around with this song and just chat, just hang out, just see what happens. Yeah. I hope everyone else is having a decent week or weekend or looking forward to the weekend. Mine has been busy and annoying, but it's over now. Well, I've got stuff to do tomorrow, but it's largely over now. Let's fuck around with this song before it grates on us too much. I fully support international terribly named bands. Oh, you're guessing the Kingsman movie is unrelated to the Kingsman movies? You're guessing wrong. But we will get to that. We will get to that. Um, that'll do. That'll do for that one just now. Um, did I get a new loop pedal yet? I've got the one chosen out. I know what I'm gonna get. I'm just waiting for the AdSense payout to come in, and then we'll get that. I think I'm also gonna invest in getting a octave pedal as well, so I can get some bass in there. So yeah, that's basically that's the plan. We're doing well. The start of this week started with my flatmate's cat not feeling well. Had been neutered and got an infection and was really sluggish. So we had a big vet emergency on Sunday night and Monday as well, and he got all of his shit sorted out. But he has to wear a silly collar all the time, and he's not happy about it. And he's not happy that we put him in it. And then he headbutted a wall, trying to jump up on something, and bust up his nose. So now he's got a kind of bloody nose as well. He's in a mess, the poor wee beast. So that started out. That's what this week started out with, a strong start. And then the rest has just been kind of boring. Boring work stuff. I spent a holiday today doing interview transcriptions, so my brain is fried. But wine. How is everyone tonight? What's the plans for this weekend for folk? You watch The Kingsman? Oh man, are we just gonna have to watch The Kingsman? We're just gonna have to talk about The Kingsman because I mentioned it and it's in the front of my brain. All right, let's talk about. Let me take a sip of wine and then I'll talk about The Kingsman, The Kingsman. So the reason that The King's Man, right? The reason why is not just a bad King. Yeah, well, for anyone who doesn't know, okay. So let's do some background. So first of all, the reason why The King's Man is so egregious and so bad, like there's lots of bad films, but what The King's Man really shows is that liberals have to be banned from making films, because they can't be trusted. They cannot be trusted with titles, with art. Their time is gone. What the fuck are you doing, basically? So for anyone that doesn't know, the Kingsman series are a series of like, there's 3 movies now about like spies, like kind of parody spy movies, where like in the style of ridiculous, James Bond style movies. The first one, I thought, hi folks, welcome to the stream. The first one I thought was okay. I thought it had elements that were fun and goofy and good. It had the weird, and this is a thing that will come up consistently. It had the bad guy was an eco-fascist. Which works. I think that's a good bad guy to have. And it works within the theme of the film, where, like, loosely, this guy from a working class background becomes a spy. The whole premise is that they're gentlemen spies, so that they're dressing well, and he's the first gentleman spy to not come from a really posh background, and it's like. And it's like that's the premise, and it's fun enough. It has weird kind of like Tory aspirational undertones kind of shit going on, and it has weird kind of misogynistic humor in it, which gets exaggerated in the second film, which is worse and just messier and weirder, but not quite as social mobility James Bond is kind of how it is, and it got more praise than it was worth, but it was fine. It wasn't. I wouldn't spend a stream time talking about how bad it was. The second one was just bad in uninteresting ways. It just took things in the first one, like, pushed them up nth degrees, and the sort of ridiculousness and stupidity of what was going on. But this idea of, like, I think the Kingsman, the new one, the Kingsman is about the founding of this agency, this fucking gentleman spy agency, and the first scene of this film. This is when I knew things were not going to go well, was when this film opened with South Africa, in 1905 or something, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, fucking hell. Where's this going to go? This isn't going to go well. And you open up on the fucking savannah of South Africa, and the hero is introduced being driven by his black manservant, towards a British concentration camp, and you're like, and the hero is delivering aid. He works for the Red Cross, and he's fucking delivering aid to this concentration camp, and like, you go into this film, you go in, and the guy storms through the gates, and you see all these emaciated people, and you go to fucking Lord. You get up to Lord Kitchener. And the hero's like, this is not on. These people look like they're dying. And Lord Kitchener's like, but we have to do it. And then it's not mentioned again. For the rest of the film, nothing else, no allusions to the British concentration camps are fucking mentioned at all. It's like, here, we've got them. Aren't they terrible? Moving on. And the hero gets shot by the Dutch guys, and his wife gets killed, and his wife is like, protect our son from war. War is bad. And the guy's like, I'm a pacifist now. So he's a pacifist. He's a liberal pacifist who is still like a lord. And it's important that he's a lord for the film and the particular ways in which this film is terrible. And so we cut away. And we cut away in the introduction to the villain. And fuck me, guys. Just, can I tell Hollywood, if you want a Scottish villain, hire a Scottish actor, or at least someone who can do a Scottish accent, because this guy is introduced. Fucking Rasputin is introduced walking into this fucking barn in Switzerland, and the shadowy big villain called the Shepherd is appeared, and he's got this accent, and it's I didn't catch what it was supposed to be for like 3 minutes of this guy talking. I was like, is this Swedish? And the only way I figured out that it was Scottish, actually, was that there's this thing that actors do when they try to do Scottish accents, when they do T's really weirdly. They say things like try, and they will try to do things. Oh, the English lords have tried to keep Scotland down, and like, that's not how Scottish people pronounce try. It's like more of a try. It's not try. It's not this weird fucking trill that apparently every Hollywood actor seems to make it by. And that annoyed me. But anyway, basically, Rasputin, all these world powers are being I don't know what the fuck, the fucking villain, man. I don't know what the fucking, like, all the world leaders are people in leadership positions are being influenced to try and get Scottish independence, I guess. I think that's what's going on. I don't know why he needs to control the world to do this. It seems weird. I don't know, like, he seems to be guiding world history in this to make Scottish independence happen, and it's like, and he's always talking about English imperialism, and that annoys me for anyone who's seen the fucking video I made on Scottish imperialism, because, you know, we're not good at remembering that the Scottish were fucking imperialists as well, and also the idea that Scotland was colonised by England or was imperialised by England. Bullshit. We'll not get into that right now, but it annoyed me. So that fucking happens. And then we like move forward into the year before World War One or whatever's going on, and like, and the whole the main character Ralph Fiennes, Voldemort. We'll just call him Voldemort. It's easier to say than Ralph Fiennes. Voldemort is looking after his weird-faced son. His weird-faced son is like, it's a straight. Oh god, the guy looks so posh. He looks like a posh person who's been squeezed. And he's got this kind of thin weasel face. Probably not okay to make fun of people's appearance. You know, but he's still weird face. Anyway, and he's looking after his son, who's like, he's like, I want to go out and explore the world. And World War One starts. And he's like, I want to go out and fight for my country and dulce decorum est stuff. And it's like, oh, it's great. And his dad's a pacifist. He's like, oh, I don't want you fighting. Fighting's bad. Don't do fighting. The shepherd is the Scottish guy is the one that starts World War One by getting the guy who kills Archduke Franz Ferdinand is in his team and he shoots him. It's like, okay, World War One started. They sort of leap past World War One, most of World War One, for some reason, and it's just like the kid's mad that he's not getting to fight, and all this sort of shit goes on. Whatever. And then they eventually get into going to Russia to try and stop the Tsar from, I don't know, from pulling Russia out the war, and they go to stop Rasputin, and then there's this fucking scene, man. This fucking weird ass scene where it's like simulating Rasputin giving Voldemort head, but he doesn't really, like, because Voldemort's got this injury on his leg from where he was shot, and he has limps, and Rasputin's like, I can fix this. I am Rasputin, the big bear. I will fix it with my mystical powers. And he takes him to a room and like licks out the wound, the old wound, and like Voldemort basically has an orgasm, and then it's so weird. It's like, I don't know what kind of fuck. It's like, hey, oh, welcome, a member. I don't know what that means, but welcome, Rosa Leotard to the Cool Gang. Is this a YouTube thing that I've forgotten about? If it has, I will look into it. Yeah, so whatever. He licks out this wound, and it's like, look at this terrible thing where man on man sexuality is viewed as like, as disgusting or gross or mystical or whatever. It's bizarre. And anyway, Rasputin then tries to kill him, and then they kill Rasputin, which and the many things that this is going to take away from the October Revolution, the killing of Rasputin is one of the lower down the rungs of things that they're going to take away from the October Revolution. So they kill Rasputin, and they're like, oh, they have to find this fucking shepherd guy who wants something. Russia's greatest love machine. There's more character. Just listen to the Boney M song. What's up? What's therapy? We're talking about fucking the King's Man. And then after, okay, so this is when things really start to get going. This is when things really start getting weird and gross in particular ways, and very particularly liberal ways. Before we get to that, actually, let me rewind just a little bit. So the reason this is particularly liberal and not necessarily conservative, as much as those things are distinct, is that there's a scene early on where Voldemort is talking to his squeeze-faced son, and he's like, "What does it mean to be a lord? To be a lord of the manor? Well, what it means is that our ancestors murdered lots of people back in the day, and they murdered people, and that's how we got power, and that's how we've got the power now, is because we have terrible ancestors. And you're like, you're supposed to think, oh, this guy has progressive views on the aristocracy, but he's still a lord. He's not at any point renounced his lordship. He's not left his like, you get frequent shots of his fucking massive palace, where he's like, where he's got his black manservant, who he treats really well, because he's one of the good ones who treats black manservants very well. There is no examination of any dynamic at play there. He's got a badass girl boss fucking maid who shoots but also cooks meals and tidies up and educates the child. Quite a neoliberal view of the fucking role of women in this film. Kind of weird in that regard. So, stolen land acknowledged. It's like saying, oh, I stole the land, but like, we stole and pillaged the land, and we built all these houses, we took all the power, and that was bad. But now that we've got it, we're not giving it to anyone. That would be ridiculous. Why would that happen? This is just the way things are, and the way things have to be. But it was terrible that it had to work out this way, that we had to take all the power and all the land. But that's just how it is. And all of our ancestors were terrible, but by acknowledging it, we aren't. And the sort of Voldemort's further backstory is that he stopped fighting in the colonial wars because he was going to other places, invading their countries, and like killing them. So he decided to work for the Red Cross. And if anyone who has a glancing knowledge of international NGO activity would understand that those two things aren't necessarily always that separate. But again, liberals be being liberals. So, with that said, let's fast forward to after Rasputin is murdered, not by the October revolutionaries, but by fucking the maid, Gemma Arterton, in it. And the scene following that is a scene where it cuts to the Scottish villain, and the Scottish villain is like, now that my Russian tortoise, which is his name for Rasputin, now that Rasputin has been killed, I need a new figure to stop Russia being in the war, because he wants to crush Britain so that Scotland can be independent, or fucking something. And the person that he's getting to replace Rasputin to get Russia out the war is Vladimir Lenin. It's Vladimir Lenin. And Lenin responds to this by saying, I will be glad to do your bidding, or whatever, but you will need, he says, I am rising from the left, you will need an equal force to rise from the right. Basically saying that, basically saying that Vladimir Lenin would have conspired to bring Hitler to the fore, to create fascism, because you need that balance in the world. Because the one thing we know about the Soviets, they loved Hitler. That's one thing that they did enjoy, and they didn't go after all of them. Hey, Mountain Harpy, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, liberal ideology right there. So that happens, and that is not the last we see of Vladimir Lenin, unfortunately. Fucking hell. It was bad. So you go on, and like the fucking weasel-faced, squeezed son tricks his way into going to the war, where he's murdered, and where he's killed in the war for fighting in the war, and it's like, and there's a moment in this film which is really annoying, because it's the closest that the film gets to being touching or to having any sort of point, because the kid is killed, and you have this funeral where it's like Duce decorum est pro patria mori, like war like that is held. It's a horrible thing to tell kids that they have to die for their country. This sort of heart-wrenching poem, and then it's immediately followed up by the Ralph Fiennes deciding that he wants to no longer be a pacifist and actually is becoming a super fighting man who decides to murder a bunch of folk. Because he's no longer a pacifist now, he's just doing the right kind of violence, and that the right kind of violence isn't even like anything to do with the colonialism or anything, or the anti-imperialism. It's just making sure that America gets into the war and making sure that Britain wins the First World War, which is... I could understand maybe if they'd done it the Second World War. You could be like, yeah, Britain needed to... Yeah, you needed to defeat Germany in the Second World War. So I can understand, but like the First World War... What was the necessity of Britain to win that war? And eventually they get the US in, and everyone's like, yeah, Britain. And they set up the super secret spy agency between the US. Between the only people there are fucking English people, Scottish people, and Americans. And it's like, this is great. The fucking King of England is one of them, isn't he? The fucking King of England is one of the King's men. He's his own King's man. He's in it. It's like fucking... That's how bad. That's what's going on there. They set up they fucking set up spy NATO in a tailor shop in London. That fucking twee nonsense. Ugh. And so that's basically the bullshit of the film. And then the final post-credit scene of this film is Vladimir Lenin being introduced to a young Adolf Hitler and being like, "We are going to do great things together." Like a Marvel teaser trailer for Hitler. The next film will have Lenin and Hitler fighting against, there's so much. It's like a fucking meteor of bullshit. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to start and get that fucking nonsense, because the idea that the October Revolution and Lenin and the Bolsheviks would be on the side of Hitler is so anti-Semitic. Like so many of the October Revolutionaries were specifically rebelling against Tsarist anti-Semitism, and to even make a weird fake jokey idea film where Lenin and Hitler have like a fucking friendship is just deeply insulting, and like in a not funny way, in a horrendously kind of disgustingly weirdly anti-Semitic way, but in a very specifically liberal way as well. Yeah, bad film. I really didn't like that film. I had something else I was going to say about it, but I can't remember. Maybe it'll pop into my head at some point. But fucking hell, don't watch this film. It is not good. Someone said, "Hey John, do I have any thoughts on post irony or meta irony?" I don't know what that is. I would have to have you explain it to me, and then maybe I will have thoughts, but who knows. It does sound like James Lindsay's hot take. It does sound a bit like James Lindsay, yeah. Oh, I kind of want to read that James Lindsay book just to see how kind of mad it is. I kind of want to make the Kill James Bond lot watch this, because I know they will hate it. I kind of think that if I make them watch this, they might hate me. So, I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, terrible, terrible, terrible film. Um, oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, weird thing about this film, right? So it's ostensibly like a comedy action film, um, but for some reason they don't treat Tsar Nicholas as funny at all. Like they make the German or fucking Prussian whatever emperor, they make him funny and ridiculous, but they don't really make Tsar Nicholas ridiculous, which is weird because Tsar Nicholas was an absolute just a total, just a dipshit, and a firm vein of comedy because he just had no idea what he was up to, no idea what he was doing, and like the only reason that Rasputin had so much power is because both him and his wife were not not on the ball regarding how to run a country. So they like if you wanted some fun like comedy, why not make Tsar Nicholas funny? Weird. Bad film. So that's my view on fucking the King's Man. Um, we did yeah bad film. Don't watch it. Matthew Vaughn, what are you up to? Well, we try and cool down, try and calm down. Let's add a bit of music in, post rant music. Sir Nicholas was maybe history's most fully formed himbo. I can get behind that. Um, let's make some music, see what comes up. I fucked that one up. Got the timing wrong. Um, uh, what? Curious, what stuff you're using? I'm using a 42 of you, 45 of you concurrent viewers right now. Welcome all 45 of you. Welcome to still watching. Yeah, I'm using I've got a thing called like Hardwire DLB, but I'm gonna be updating soon to get something slightly better. Let me try that again because there was something there, but I fucked it up a bit. Fucked up again. Let's see. There we go, some fun. Ugh. We'll just keep that down low in the background, just for some background music. Yeah, nice to get a bit of funk on. Waiting for a new vid of yours to upload. Thank you. Anyone got any other questions or any other topics they want to talk about? Any weird shit going on? Oh, you know what is going on? Which talking about the royal family and kings. Nice to see the innocence of Prince Andrew confirmed by his payout to the person that he definitely didn't. He definitely wasn't guilty of anything with the person who he paid out. What was it? How much was it? 20 million? 20 million? Can we talk about your skin routine? It's just a bad camera and washing out lights. It's my skin isn't looking too great at the moment. Oh wow, that's incredibly cool. I'm sorry that you'll live. I'm sorry that you live in a homeless shelter, but that's I'm glad that you enjoyed playing along. Hey Tinfoil, how's it going? We're just chatting away. We were just talking about the Prince Andrew being proven himself entirely innocent by giving a massive payout to the person accusing him of sexual assault when she was underage. Of course, by settling it, he proves his innocence and will not be proven guilty in a court of law, which is, of course, the best thing for the prince. What a fucking degenerate pile the royal family are. Yeah, I mean, good for her for getting the money. Like, I would take it. It's just like most obviously guilty man in the world, isn't he? Sitting there going, "Oh, I don't sweat when asked about specific details." Yeah. I live in a shuttle bus here in Austin, Texas. We got a lot of homelessness here in Austin. How do you guys deal with homelessness in the UK? Not well. There's a lot of homelessness, especially in London. Not quite as much as I remember from my time in the US. But one of the things that happened during the pandemic was, well, it's still during the pandemic, but during the first lockdown, was that hotels were paid to house homeless people, all the homeless people in the UK, and proving that homelessness is a political choice. And they housed homeless people in hotels for was it about 6 weeks, I think, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, I can't remember. But basically, they proved that homelessness could be solved as not particularly hard in not particularly hard ways, just by paying money to places, just by housing people. It's not that hard. The complications aren't that hard. But since then, those protections have all disappeared. And what we've had in the UK, and I was working on an essay which I was editing yesterday, which I've sent a pitch into Novara Media today about homelessness and housing. Not homelessness, but the increase in rent and housing costs in the UK. Because at the end of January, there was a report by data emerged that house prices in the UK and rent prices increased by 9.9%, not excluding London, and 10.9% including London, which and in parts of London prices increased by £27,000 in the last quarter of 2021, which is £27,000 is like the average, the median income in the UK. And I wrote an essay about why that's happened and what the purpose of that is within neoliberal capitalism. Homelessness is not good. That's my hot take. And you can quote me on that on Twitter. Homelessness is not good, and I think that we should stop it. That's my motto, one I live by. Things aren't great in terms of homelessness in the UK. I don't have specifics of data or anything, but from last time I looked, things have been getting worse, and I would be amazed, frankly, if that hadn't continued and things hadn't continued to get worse. It is good for her that she doesn't have to endure a long trial, because trials for people who have been victims of sexual assault are often just grueling and horrible, with very little care for the victim at all. So yeah, I mean, for her, it's obviously a good result to get for that. It's just very obvious that they didn't want to go for a trial because he's obviously guilty. Fuck him. Fuck those guys. Yeah. I did once see Prince Charles, and I was walking in the Highlands, and this fucking guy just wandered past us, and the person I was walking with was like, I think that was Prince Charles. And we looked around and it was, and he was away before anything could happen. So it was one of the great regrets of my life. He was alone in the wilderness. Anything could have happened. Anyway. Oh no, Ariel, you put your local Pizza Express on the map. As it put up, get one of those like plaques that go on walls of where famous people were born, and just put this is where fucking Prince Andrew couldn't sweat. How's the situation for unionisation for university students in the UK? University students in the UK don't. I mean, I'm in a union. PhD students can unionise. I don't think master's students have any sort of unionisation, recourse to unionisation. So there's not much in the way of student unionisation, but a lot of the time. So right now, a lot of university staff are out on strike because of attacks on pensions. But that's the one issue. But conditions for university staff are worsening and worsening. Like the other day, there was a advert for a postdoc fucking job at Oxford University, full-time lectureship job, fixed-term contract for £19,000 a year, which is not great. So there's been a lot of strikes. My institution isn't on strike because of the peculiarities of what my institution is, because it's not an undergraduate institution. It's a postgrad only research institution. So my institution isn't on strike, but loads of the universities around me are. Yeah. So I don't think there's much on getting students to unionise, but unionisation within the universities is okay. Yeah, that's right, Russo. Philosophy is where all the money is. But people are always saying like, don't do these jobs. Don't do computer science. Don't do engineering. There's just no like money in that sort of stuff. You want to get into philosophy, because that's where the big bucks are. It is actually the idea that there isn't that there are loads of jobs. I remember when I was an undergrad, people would be like, "Oh, do law because law you're guaranteed a job." It's like, no. Law, you're not guaranteed a job. There's an overabundance of STEM qualifications in the UK, at least. Loads and loads of underemployed science and technology graduates, because we've got a low wage, low skill economy, and a high-skilled workforce, basically. So all that, like, there's weird, the government trying to fucking implement, enforce STEM subjects, and getting rid of humanities with the idea that for some reason, I know why they're doing it ideologically, but their sort of empirical reasoning that these contribute more to the economy and you're more likely to get jobs is just simply not true. There's huge dearth of employment. Yeah. Things suck, man. Sorry. Things suck. I'm writing a musical. I'd love to talk to you about the philosophical arc of the characters in the show. I mean, that sounds interesting. I don't know much about. I'm not a philosopher by any means. I'm a sort of what am I? I was talking about this with my supervisor the other week about what to. Because of the way academia works, you have to classify where your research sits within what's called the Research Assessment Forum, or whatever they're calling it now, the research assessment stuff. And like, you can't call yourself interdisciplinary, because even though all the fucking bullshit is like, oh, we approach interdisciplinary matters importantly, there's no place for your research. Basically, if you say you're interdisciplinary, so it doesn't get counted as easily by the universities. If you say politics and you start publishing stuff like my last publication on like things that happen outside of the institutions of the state, then they don't count that in the research assessment, because politics is a very narrow idea of what counts as research in that field. And it's not sociology, because it still interacts with those institutions. So you've got to like find out which fucking niche. I think the word that most readily comes to me is political sociologist, which sounds like bullshit. It doesn't sound like a real thing. But this is the way academics making up bullshit fucking terms to work our way through justifying our existence. I'm computer science, have job. I remember last year, the year before. Oh god, time is illegal. Time is illegal. Quote me on that too. A friend of mine was looking for a job in computer science, and the only stuff he could find in Scotland, at least, was either in finance or in working for startups that were trying to make that were trying to fucking make like Deliveroo drivers not be able to deviate off course, or make Amazon drivers not be able to go to the toilet by tracking their movements, or basically disciplinary ways of making people not look away from their screens and stuff like that. So and because it was an old flatmate of mine, he was not particularly keen on that sort of thing either. Do Scottish people still face bigotry, discrimination from English people? Nah. No, not really. No. It's not a thing. The worst you get is people doing your accent at you. Nah. I don't think Scottish people have really experienced anything that could be called discrimination for a long, long time on the British Islands. No. Thank you, Matthew Has. I appreciate that. Do I have a favourite non-Marxist philosopher? I guess the one that I use, and the one that I used most is Mbembe, Akil Mbembe. I use it because he's the one who came up with the concept of necropolitics, and he's by no means a Marxist, and his analysis of Marxism is bad, is not good, very much not Marxist, but necropolitics is such a good framework, such a useful concept that fits well within Marxism. And, you know, depending on where you look at Foucault, early Foucault, Discipline and Punish, that's very basically Marxist stuff. But you're going beyond into the biopolitics stuff, then he's moving consciously away from Marxism. And I do like Foucault. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends where you're thinking, where you delineate Marxist. Some people would claim folk like Fanon as non-Marxist. I personally think that he uses enough of the method to be considered Marxist, but I don't know. Yeah, a lot of decolonial, anti-colonial thinkers. Cedric Robinson's very good. Despite some of his hiccups with Marxism as well, which I think some of his missteps with his description of Marxism. And again, people consider Stuart Hall a Marxist. I personally, again, I do. Some people don't, depending on what period of his life he's from. I mean, some people, whether Angela Davis still considers her Marxism the most important part of her political ideology. Maybe someone like Francois Vergès as well, decolonial rather than Marxist, and still incredibly good, and some useful sort of interactions with social reproductive work. There's lots of interesting people who aren't Marxists. I just fired a lot of names out, but I don't really have favourite philosophers. I guess I'm just not a nerd, he said on his political education YouTube channel. If I wasn't studying what I'm studying, what would I be studying? Oh, I mean, I can't answer that right now, because the things I'm doing right now, the stuff I'm doing is stuff I specifically chose. I'm basically doing what I want and making it what I want. But previously, I probably shouldn't have done politics as an undergrad. I probably should have done sociology as an undergrad, because politics was bad in many ways, and not fitted to what I wanted to do. So I shouldn't have done politics as an undergrad. Should have done sociology. But the PhD, I could just do whatever the fuck I want as long as I justify it. And my research interests me hugely, so that's no issue. What kind of wine do I drink? So I will drink any wine. The reason I don't drink red, so a couple of reasons why I don't drink red wine. On stream, first of all, because they make your teeth go red, and I'm vain enough to be upset when I see my teeth go redder and redder throughout a stream. Allow me to be a little bit vain. But also because red wine just gives me hell hangovers. I really like red wine. I can I like red wine. But the hangovers these days, I just can't hack them. These days. The other week, me and my flatmate were drinking red wine, and we woke up the next day and both of us were just unable to move. We drank like 3-4 bottles each, not each, sorry, between us, and just we were in a bad way. I don't know anything, and I've tried to ask people who know about wine before, but I just get bored. So no, I don't know. Yeah. You mentioned publishing. Do you have a book for sale? Do I have any music? Yeah. So I've not got a book. I have an article published in the International Journal of Human Rights, which I published last year, about, you guessed it, neoliberalism. I do have the music. If you look at any of my videos, in the description there will be a link to my Bandcamp page, which has like an album's worth of music on it there. And if you're a $5 and up patron, you get access to that as well. I want to get back into making music when I've got time to actually I've got music software downloaded. I just need to find time to actually start recording again. But yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah, the neoliberalism understander. Yeah, politics is a bad field. Am I familiar with Byung-Chul Han's work? I am not familiar with that work. Very welcome, always welcome for suggestions. I like interesting stuff to read. Yeah, fire away suggestions in the chat. I take a look afterwards and see what's up with that. Song in the intros is a song called "Time for a Change," which is one that I made on Ableton, which is one I wrote. And that's, again, if you go to the description of the video, you'll find a link to the Bandcamp page, which has that. Should we try something? Someone mentioned something more sort of like DAW. What's DAW software? I'm not sure what that is. Is that music software for like Ableton and stuff? Let's see. Let's make something up. Oh, in that case, I used to have a cracked Ableton. I used to have a cracked version of Ableton, which I got competent with, and now I just installed Reaper, so I've got to figure out how that works. Someone said they want something more sort of like Latin feeling, so let's see if we can get there. So on conservative thinkers, so like I once read a Roger Scruton book. It's one of those things. It's like one of those things that liberals say to you quite a lot. Is, oh, you need to read people who disagree with you. And it's like, have you ever read any left-wing theory? They disagree with each other. That's all we do, constantly, is disagree with each other. But secondly, like, I read a conservative thinker once, Roger Scruton. I tried to read his book Fools, Frauds and Firebrands, and it was unreadable. And I don't mean like he is morally repugnant, and I can read morally repugnant stuff fine, whatever. I did enough political theory in university to read morally repugnant shit, but it's just like bad. It's just like not worth your time reading, because it gives you nothing. I've heard similar things about Ayn Rand. I've never read Ayn Rand. I've heard similar things. It's like, it's just not even fun to read, because it's like bad, and it's just terrible to try, because you get nothing out of it. I mean, Roger Scruton is the guy who tinfoil. Yes, you weren't here, so I've not got it yet, but I've got the one picked out. You got to wait for the payout from AdSense, which happens once a month. But I have the one. I've got the one I know I'm gonna get when that payout comes, and yeah, we're gonna do some cool shit with that. It's got like drum loops with it, and more than 30 seconds to do shit with. So yeah. I've not played live I never played live on my own. I've played live in bands for a while ago. My rig is not good. I've never had that much in the way of pedals. But yeah, normally just like the loop pedal is also a delay and reverb pedal, so it's normally like delay, reverb, and I've got two different distortion, one overdrive, one distortion pedal as well. Then no Doctor Who rants today, unfortunately. Do I have a reading list for budding leftists? I don't have a reading list, but if you're looking for interesting stuff to read, underneath every video is the bibliography, and everything that is available in the bibliography is available in some form online, whether that's through ZLibrary or LibGen or just through Google Scholar. So you should be able to find everything in a bibliography. So if you see a video that you particularly like, go to the bibliographies there, and you should be able to get some good shit, interesting shit for you to read. And yeah. I'm getting bored of this song. What sort of thing should I try next? What should I go for? Let's see something. Let's have a look. See what do know of CCK. CCK. So I have enjoyed CCK videos in the past, but I stopped watching videos, perhaps unfairly, because the video that well, I'm not sure their pronouns, the video that they put on human rights was extremely bad. It was a poorly put together video that didn't have any engagement with really any of the literature on human rights and how they exist, and had like basic factual errors wrong in it, and that put me off a lot of his work, which is unfair, I know, but it's like the video was bad in a way that I thought, like, because I am an expert in this particular field, in the field of human rights, if I wasn't an expert in the field, I wouldn't have noticed, and that kind of freaked me out a bit, because it meant like maybe I couldn't trust other things he put out, which might be an unfair thing to think, but it's just, yeah, that video put me off a lot of his work, unfortunately. But I'm sure I know other people that I respect, folk like John, the Lit Crit guy, really rates CCK, which I know, and I respect John a lot. So I'm sure he does lots of great work. Aside from that, it's just I don't think I'll be able to put aside that particular video, and and a lot of his work. I'm sure his videos are great, and you should keep enjoying them, absolutely. But that one video on human rights kind of freaked me out a bit. Errors in the K-pop video. No, I mean, like, there's only two real disciplines, and those are K-pop and the philosophy of K-pop. The only two disciplines that really exist that matter in the world. Top leftist. There's so many folk on the leftist creators these days. It's hard to rank anyone out of the top. There's so many of us, which is good. Glad that there's a lot of us. I've not had time to watch anyone's videos recently, which is unfortunate. I mean, who's the last? I like St. Andrew. I always enjoy his videos. Ponderful, I always really like. Lots and lots of people. Thought about putting together a response to the human rights video. I didn't want to put out a response because I'm not interested in doing response videos. But my video on human rights and Marxism deals with some of the criticisms that are leveled at human rights in that way, and so So if you want sort of my views on how human rights and Marxism interact, then that video will give you some ideas. In terms of like responses to things in that video, there's like specific strange factual errors, like saying things like that states have a human right to humanitarian intervention, and that's not a thing that exists. It's not a true thing in any. It's just wrong. That doesn't exist. And in the legal system, international legal system, it's just factually incorrect. And that sort of thing matters to a degree because the argument is couched in a kind of like positivist view, a very positivist view of human rights. So you would expect that kind of some care to go into that sort of factual work. But yeah, I'm more interested in doing like the work on human rights and Marxism in that video is what I'm willing to really say on the matter. Have I released any music? Yeah, I got if you look in the descriptions of videos, you get a link to Bandcamp pages, because the introductory music that I use in videos is my own stuff. Yeah, more of an anarchist. Yeah, he's more of an anarchist. Always worth watching. I'm not one of those people who disparages anarchists. I think anarchists are valuable, and their perspectives are valuable. Let's see what. I think it's one of my consistent. I just think anarchists get a shit deal in a lot of left spaces. People thinking they're immature or they don't have any real theory, and it's like, what's the fucking point? Like, I'm not an anarchist, but just fucking, we're in no real position of making sort of fucking divisions between left on like fucking anarchism basis. What's the point? Stop being mean. Like, I mean, there are. I did see a terrible tweet from a supposed anarchist about how anarchists should support NATO, and I was like, this is a weird thing for an anarchist to say. Yeah, sure, you get communist anarchists, yeah. It's just a weird thing. I think most of it is things like Twitter elevate things to the realm of just discourse, and like most of it's horseshit. If you spend any time organising, like in the real world, then you're not gonna give a fuck if the person that you're trying to resist an eviction with is an anarchist or a Marxist-Leninist. You just know that they've got your back against the fucking police. That's all you need to know. Can I get my take on the Conservative government in Ontario, Canada, announcing that they're privatising healthcare after 49 years of it being banned? Oh man, that's depressing. My take on that is that it's depressing that is consistent with neoliberal governmentality and the way that neoliberal is acting, and with the sort of privatisation of social, what I'm calling the privatisation of social means, the means of social reproduction. Yeah, that's bad. I don't know. There's not much else I can say about that. I'm sorry that that's happening. Fuck Tories wherever they are. That's my vibe. Fuck Tories wherever they are. Not physically fuck them, because nobody wants to fuck a Tory. I mean, tell them to fuck off. We go until, by the way, for anyone who's new here, we go until I finish my wine. The last of the wine is in the glass, so we go until this glass is done. Drink if Thatcher's dead, yeah. They're in the process of dismantling the NHS. They've been in the process of dismantling the NHS for a long time now. Never quite explicitly, but I mean, one of the big things during the pandemic was the lack of supply chains and lack of stores of PPE. And one of the reasons for that was that procurement and PPE and all that stuff was exported to private sector organisations, so they've been privatising that stuff for a long time. Mental health services have been privatised. The PPI, public-private partnership stuff. Interestingly, so one of the things that one of the things that happened, and the consistent arguments that you get about the death of neoliberalism going on right now, is folks like Biden, the apparent death of neoliberalism at the hands of folks like Biden and his infrastructure bill, spending on infrastructure and all that shit. People being like, oh yeah, this is the death of neoliberalism. But looking at that bill, you saw that one of the main provisions was ensuring that spending was done through public-private partnerships, whereby public money was funneled into private hands, that private enterprises would own public infrastructure, essentially. How this happened in the UK was that you would have hospitals built by private firms, and then the government would rent those hospitals off the private firm until the point that they'd paid off the cost of the hospital. Now, what you'd think would happen then is that the cost of the hospital, having been accrued, would then go into public ownership. But no, what happened there was that the contract was up, and the government would then have to renegotiate that contract to rent the hospital premises off of the private company for good. So public-private partnerships are one of the hallmarks of progressive neoliberals, because it allows them to push spending plans to make themselves present as more progressive than they are, and make themselves look like they're changing things, but really they're just funneling money into private hands. And that was one of the main things that the Biden administration's infrastructure bill did. So it's one of those things that very much wasn't the death of neoliberalism for anyone who was paying any sort of close attention. Yeah. Bad shit. Death by 1,000 cuts rather than a guillotine? Yeah, kind of, yeah, much more like that. 1,000 cuts. Yeah. Oh man, Zizek is bad. I am constantly bemused by the grip that Zizek has on people on the left. I guess to be fair, I've only read one of his books, but it was fucking terrible. It was called the what was it, the Courage of Hopelessness, and it was just fucking bad. It wasn't new. It wasn't exciting. It had lots of racism in it. I don't. He's more of a meme than an intellectual at this point. I don't get why people are so fucking obsessed with Zizek. Like, I have friends who've been taught by Zizek and are very willing to label him as just racist, just straight up racist. Like, friends of mine who are not white, who'd just be like, yeah, this guy's just fucking racist. Yeah, I don't get Zizek. I don't get why he's got such a fucking hold on the left. I hope that the rising awareness of MNT is making things like PPP more obvious, as the neolib scams they are. Well, yeah, like PPP was never. Nobody ever thought PPP was good. Like PPP back in 1994 or something. I think it was Gordon Brown. I think spoke about how public-private partnerships were like a wedge to insert privatisation into the NHS. And then once they got in government, they started doing them. And it's not like we've always known they were obvious bullshit. That's not the problem. The problem was never the illusion that they were bullshit. They were always bullshit. The problem is just that they do them. And like, one of the reasons that Biden got through this PPP stuff without much problem was because it was hidden within the bill, and it took people looking through the bill to take a look at it, and then it didn't even make many headlines that public-private partnerships would be part of that bill. It's yeah, it's not good. What are his positions, ideas? Never looked into him. I'd have to read this book again, and I'm not willing to do that. I just remember it being boring and nothing new and filled with. I remember it having lots of Islamophobia specifically in it. I can't speak to specifics because it's been like 2 or 3 years since I read that book. Mixed economy is the GOAT economic system. I disagree. The best economic system is communism. Do I want to join your MLM? I once saw an interview with him about the limits of cultural tolerance, where he was going on about Roma traveller cultures and the child marriage. Oh my god. Yeah, just shit like that. It's just racist. Yeah, it's just straight up racist. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he says stuff that's biologically essentialist too. I just don't think he's good. And anything that you're willing to, like, I've heard that his work, like, on ideology, like early work, I can't remember what the book's called. I've heard that his early work on ideology is good, but since then he's basically been coasting. I'm not willing to put enough time in to read the many self-plagiarized books he pumps out to give a particularly nuanced take on him. I just don't think he's good enough for me to care about him that much. Yeah, just don't really. It's just bad. Like, even the fucking Jordan Peterson debate, like, I watched that because I've got no self-respect, and it was just bad. Like, it just didn't deal with Jordan Peterson's bullshit and didn't, like, challenge it and accepted much of it. Yeah. We were just trolling. Oh, no worries. Yeah. Bad. My take on Zizek. Bad. There's also an extra sort of block on me enjoying Zizek in that I'm not big on, like, the psychoanalysts. I'm not big on the sort of Lacanian brands of Marxism. I just never engage with them much. I have a friend who's been trying to get me to read Deleuze for ages, and it's become a sort of sticking point that I will refuse to read Deleuze just to annoy that friend. I mean, it's probably not the most intellectually honest way to go about the world, but fuck it. If I'm gonna wind up a friend of mine, that's worth more than reading. Yeah, I mean, well, this is what we're doing. We're drinking wine. I'm feeling it now. The bottle's nearly done. So we're saying shit. You can throw questions at me, anything you want. At this point, I'll basically answer. And between answering bullshit questions, not that all your questions are bullshit. You're all lovely, and I love you all. Between them, I will do some fucking noodling on the guitar. It's great fun. Have we got any? Hello to Kyle Rooney. Got any sort of ideas what we can fuck around with, what we can make on this guitar, or any more topics that you want me to talk about? I'm not going to talk about mead again because since last time I have learned. Thank you to everyone who was here last time. Mead is a real drink, and apparently it's nice. What's the story behind dressed up dog portrait? Haha. Dressed up dog portrait. So it was a present that we got our dad for his birthday. I think it was his birthday one year. And that's just it. It's just my dad loves his dogs. That's our dog Lucy. And we just thought he would like that. And Dad's room at home is the creepiest fucking room I've ever been in my life. It has horrible like old wallpaper, and I don't like the Beatles. Sorry, that was just a Pavlovian reaction. Yeah. So it's this horrible dark room with this horrible wallpaper, like all these old photos of like relatives, all these old like fucking austere Scottish Protestants. That he's got hanging in black and white photos in his room. It's creepy as shit. So we thought, let's get him a fucking oil painting of the dog in a rough, and it fits in the room pretty well. And that dog's got a funny face. She always looks kind of concerned about something. So that's the story. It's not a fun story. It's a cute story. What are my thoughts on Mark Fisher? He did a lecture titled Anti-Vitalin. I thought it might be in some way related to necropolitics. I've not read all that much Mark Fisher. I read what's it called? Capitalist Realism, and found it. I didn't think it was that good. Like I didn't think it was that. I know Mark Fisher's a big thing among certain parts of the left, particularly in the UK, and particularly I've found since coming here in London, and I just don't. I get why he would be important, but I don't get much from him. I don't think he's not, his work isn't. Capitalist Realism didn't say anything to me that was worth saying. Yeah. The convergence on the conspiracy and spirituality clouds. I mean, I don't know specifically of that convergence, but I'm unsurprised that it happened. Basically. Yeah, I know. I have the collected um, K-punk book in my digital library that I've just not gotten to yet. Um, I've never found myself particularly drawn to it. And you know, all the shit of Vampire's Castle gets brought up about fucking cancel culture every few months on Twitter. I just can't really be bothered with it. Yeah, I just don't think. I think because Mark Fisher comes in that similar sort of school of the sort of psychoanalyst sort of stuff and Lacanian stuff, and I've known enough people who are annoying enough and who love Mark Fisher. I've just never felt myself drawn to him. I might get to it at some point. But there's so much stuff that I've got to read. Do you think it's impossible to be religious and communist? I don't think so. I don't think so, but I've seen Christians argue that it's impossible for one to hold an economic system value and be Christian. No, of course not. Radical theology is a hugely important school of socialism. Yeah, like, of course you can be Christian and communist. Of course, you're fit. Like, a person's faith and how they relate to the world, is their business, and they can relate it to any way they want. I mean, you could maybe argue that there is a difficulty in trying to break down the entwinement between established religious systems and capitalism, which is a challenge, but it doesn't necessarily mean on an individual level you can't be religious and also communist. No, of course not. It's one of those. So I used to, since I'm sure I've talked about this before, but and since then my politics has evolved in certain ways. But I used to work for a secular organisation, and one of the big problems we had was people thinking that secularism meant we wanted people to be atheists, or we wanted to impose atheism on the state, and like that sort of very French secular way, or the sort of new atheist kind of way. And that made what our work really was, which was trying to allow people religious freedom, in Scotland specifically, I made it much harder. Most of our work was organising alongside interfaith groups, alongside mosques and synagogues to try and battle what was dominant Christian ideology projected through the state, and it's essential to any sort of secularism that makes any sort of sense, even if I don't necessarily consider myself secularist because of other political reasons at this stage. It's essential to have the continued support of religious groups and to organise alongside religious groups. So yeah, for sure, you can be Christian and communist. Someone said, how do I feel about Wendy Brown's work on neoliberalism? Wendy Brown's book on last book on neoliberalism was largely very good. That was the one in which she talks about the connection, the one about the moralism inherent to neoliberalism, as well as the so I'm quite drunk at this point, so we're scanning my brain, as well as the different forms of neoliberalism that have existed over time, including ordoliberalism, and I thought that was very good. The weird stuff on Nietzsche at the end of that book I didn't quite gel with. I thought it would have been better to talk more about specifically race and maybe the coloniality of neoliberalism rather than Nietzsche, because I don't fucking care about Nietzsche. But that's just me wishing someone else had written a different book. But yeah, I thought it was refreshing to see in Wendy Brown's last book on neoliberalism how she repudiates her own position on the idea that neoconservatism and neoliberalism are distinct ideologies. I think it's called The End Times, or what's it called? The Ruins of Neoliberalism or something. The last book, it was good. I like that book. Who are my biggest musical influence? Who are the smallest? So, musical influences, okay. So these days, it used to be when I was last playing in bands, stuff that I used to come out with was very much in a very specific sort of between Queens of the Stone Age, Radiohead and the Strokes, like a very sort of a very white indie kid sort of thing, which was fine. These days I take a lot more from disco. I listen to a lot of disco stuff these days, and sort of like soul and hip hop, but still with that kind of Strokes and Queens of the Stone Age influence in there. So sort of that. What is the difference between anarchism and communism? Communism, I think anarchism and Marxism is probably a more apt thing than anarchism and communism. So communism basically has the biggest difference between anarchism and Marxism is this unity of means and ends that is so essential to anarchism, that the praxis must necessarily be the end as well as the means, whereas sometimes in certain Marxisms they don't necessarily argue that case. Undoing the demos. Yeah, undoing the demos is the one I think she specifically repudiates, isn't it? Yeah. Christianity is proto-whiteness as I understand it from black Marxism and slavery and social death. I would... So it's been a couple of years since I last read black Marxism, but from... I would be surprised if that was the necessary takeaway from Robinson's analysis of Christianity, because Robinson still maintains a dialectic and still maintains a dialectical understanding of culture and how that is expressed. So I would imagine that while whiteness was created with the help of Christianity and maybe through Christianity, that it would still be possible to subvert that process with subaltern movements of Christianity. Whether that was movements that blended with indigenous spirituality or black spirituality. I wouldn't be quite so hard line on it as that. Banning religion was probably the USSR's biggest strategic error, totally backfired. Do I like Vice or Vice News? Are there any news organisations that I particularly like? News organisations. I mean, I'll read a Vice News. I mean, I'll read anything with a critical eye. I like things like, Galdem's a good news source. As melty as they are, sometimes Navarra is good. I'll say that because I just pitched something to Navarra, so maybe they'll... if Navarra reject my pitch, then they're terrible and you shouldn't read them, but if they accept it, then you should read them. I'll read Vice News every now and then. I've got friends who write for Vice. Are the videos that I make related to my PhD? They absolutely are, yeah. A lot of the time the videos... What's interesting is a lot of the time the videos have influenced the PhD rather than the other way around. Necropolitics, the stuff on... the one on neoliberal feminism, that's all been influential on the development of the PhD rather than the other way around. And the last one on subjectivity is the bones of a chapter that I am going to be writing soon. So yeah, it's all related. Uh, I like Tom York's. I like Tom York's independent stuff. Radiohead's better though. Um, uh, Unfortunately, my dissertation will not be on Chicken Run. Maybe another day. I did notice, so I did actually look for academic work on Chicken Run when I was making that video. Disappointing amount. I'm sure I could publish something somewhere about Chicken Run. Maybe I'll try that. Um, uh, will you turn your PhD into a video essay miniseries, or will your videos work as a video essay miniature of a PhD? Neither. I will do neither of those things probably. I mean, a lot of PhD stuff. A lot of PhD stuff is quite boring. And a lot of it will have been covered in different ways by the videos, but it's like the PhD will be a cumulative and will be a cumulative argument that will be separate from videos. Maybe I'll do something that condenses it down to some sort of video. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on how it looks and depends on what I'm doing. Chicken interviews were a good shout. Right, folks, I need to go to the toilet quickly. Do not be mad. Do not be rude in the chat while I'm gone. No being mean to me specifically while I'm gone. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. No one's been mean to me. Cat has still got his. No one was being good. He's got his. I can't leave him in here on his own because he will cause trouble. Um. But he is funny. He looks funny with his fucking cone on, his pink fucking cone. April Murchison, thanks for hanging out. Yeah. He's had a bad week, the poor beast. Bad couple of weeks. He keeps trying to jump onto the surfaces and he's not quite strong enough yet, and he keeps headbutting them and busting up his nose. Wee fucking dope. He's a charming little bastard anyway. Yeah, it's too blowy out today. One day he'll take the stream, but not today. I cannot trust him on his own. I can't trust him to cause trouble, to not cause trouble, because he's a wee bastard. Your liberal British friend. Yeah, we can make him a communist yet. Absolutely. We'll make that communist. We'll make that liberal friend a communist yet. What happened to him? He was neutered this week, or last week, and then he gave himself an infection, so he's in cone duty for a wee while yet. What is always white wine? Because if I drink red wine, my teeth get red and I get terrible hangovers. Hey, thank you, Lee Flutty. Thank you. That's very kind. Let's do something like that. Let's try something like that. I mean, last month it might have been red. Usually it'll be white. I do prefer red wine to white wine, but it's just these days I can't hack it. I can't hack those hangovers. I'm getting old. My bones creak these days, and I'll wake up in the morning. It's like fucking Nosferatu emerging from his tomb if I drink red wine. So it's white wine from here on normally. Jory reveals I am 27 and still feeling bad with hangovers. Can I play Kiss the Girl by Katy Perry? How does that go? Let's see. I'm sure I could figure it out. Let me see. What's the chord sequence to Kiss the Girl? Fuck it. I'll do it another day. 27 so American 46. What's the life expectancy in America? Yeah, I mean, like the difference in I think it's valuable to make up that distinction between liberal and being on the actual left, because I think even those who are left liberal is, I think, useful to point out, because they're very, very different things, and it's definitely worth pointing out those differences. On whoever said that the 2-day hangovers, the day I got back from the World Transformed, which is the big left-wing festival in which everyone, basically every left-winger in the UK who can, goes to a particular city, in this case Brighton, and then drinks a lot and takes a lot of drugs for 5 days. After that, I had a hangover and a come down that lasted 3 days, and it was hellish. It was so bad. It was the worst hangover I've ever had. And I turned up to my graduation on a come down. Oh boy. It was one of those moments I was like, I'm getting, this is too much. Am I multilingual? I am not. I am trying to relearn my German, and I'm trying to learn Spanish right now. I'm on that Duolingo. I'm doing my best. I wish I was multilingual. It's very cool to be multilingual. Can I play Bad Child by Tones now? I have no idea what that is. Yeah, TWT was very fun. It was a good time. Hopefully we'll be there this year. Oh, I fucking hate that owl. That owl can go fuck himself. The Duolingo owl? Fuck that owl. I will find where that owl lives and I will wring its fucking neck. I hate that owl. Yeah, TWT. I would like... You know, Nidal, you don't even speak English. You just typed that in English. That's... What a bizarre thing. Let's I'm gonna do something funk again. I will hate. Fuck, I will hate. We will get that owl and we will stamp him to death. That owl will come for me. That owl will think. He will beat me up. That owl will think that he's won. That owl will be sitting gloating over my body. And then that owl will feel the cool sliver of a blade reach into its back as I take that owl down one last time, until no one is ever tormented by that fucking owl again. That fucking owl. This is the song that plays as I murder the Duolingo owl and slowly rest his head down. Sad, because we've been through so much together. But really it's the time. It's the time for the Duolingo owl to leave this mortal plane. And it's not that I feel joy for my victory over the owl. I do. But there's a melancholy, a bittersweetness to the victory. This owl has ruined so many lives, he's been a part of so many lives, and now he's no more. And there's almost a sadness to that. And as I try to tell the Duolingo owl that this is because he was annoying, I'm reminded of my broken German and my inability to actually say this to him in German, and reminded of his failure as an owl to teach me German. And that kind of annoys me. So I just sort of let him fall. And in slow motion, in black and white, the Duolingo owl falls. And we're all free. And yeah, you can hear me singing. You can judge for yourself if you look if you look at the description of any of my videos. You can find a Bandcamp link to music I've recorded, which I'm singing on. So if you want to hear, it's been a while since I last sung, so I'm probably out of practice. Can I say Schmetterling? Mein Oel ist gestorben. Mein Oel ist gestorben. Meine Oel. Thank you, Zern Ryla. Much love. Cheers. Appreciate it. Where's the wine? The wine is almost finished, buddy. We are at almost a bottle down. I'm enjoying myself too much to stop at this point. I might have a wee whiskey after this, just to carry it on a little bit longer, because I'm enjoying myself. Sorry, Nidal, what do I think about atheism in general? Do you mean atheism, or is that a different word that I've not understood? Yeah. Solidarity for more. Solidarity. Always solidarity. Solidarity forever. Hey, we will accept all sorts here, even Americans. Atheism in general. I mean, I don't believe in God. I mean, I'm not one of those types who is obsessed with atheism. I remember reading Christopher Hitchens' book, God Is Not Great, and thinking, this is fucking bad. This is a bad book. It's weird and racist. Whatever you think is up to you. I personally just like I just don't think there's a God. And it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. It doesn't mean that much to me. It doesn't impact my life much. And I don't judge anyone who thinks differently. In that regard, it's up to them. Whatever. Fans in India, wow. That's incredible. That is actually a wild thing to hear. I am very glad that you enjoy my shit. Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. Sam Harris's book on morality was embarrassing. I've heard. I've never read it. I've had to deal with implications of Sam Harris's book. No, my parents. So, well, my parents. What are my parents? So, on my mum's side is interesting because my mum's side of the family is from Shetland, the Shetland Islands, which have a really specific history regarding like secularism and regarding religiousness, and because of like the conglomeration of different types of Christianity within Shetland, lots of different ecclesiastical schools within Shetland because of where it was. There was never really any strong Protestant Catholic divide in the same way as there was in Glasgow, or where my dad is from, in Paisley. So there wasn't. So religiosity was less a part of the identity of like my mum's side of the family. So even like my granny and granddad weren't really religious. When my granddad died, at his funeral, my granny wanted to have this song and wanted it to be in the kirk, and she was like, oh, it needs to be here because she said to my mum, your dad always had such belief in God. And my mum was like, your dad never went to church. I don't remember your dad going to church once in our lives. Like they were not churchy folk. And it was a bit different for my dad's family because they grew up in Paisley, and religiousness and religiosity in Paisley in the 1950s was heavily split between Catholic and Protestant, where each side would attempt to murder the other side, and that tends to make that basically made my dad not want to ever deal with religion at all, in the same way it didn't want to make him deal with football at all. Someone asked me earlier if I liked football. Because of being Scottish, liking football has particular connotations, so I never really got involved with football. I enjoy playing football. I've played in five-a-sides and I like playing football, but supporting teams is a dangerous game. But yeah, it's a weird thing. So none of my family were really religious at all, but they weren't like. I can remember the day that I didn't. Like I remember the day where I said to my mum, because in Scottish schools you have to be. They are Christian schools. Every state school is necessarily a Christian school, and I remember one day coming back from school, and we were singing hymns in assembly that day. I remember asking my mum if God was real, and she sort of went, what do you think? And I was just like, I don't really think there is one. And she was like, me neither. And that was basically the extent of it. Yeah, it's a religiosity and religiousness in Scotland is an interesting phenomenon that has been resulted in lots of strife over the years. Maybe something worth talking about at some point. What's my whiskey of choice? I like Talisker. Talisker, my lovely flatmate. I mentioned to him before Christmas, just in the pub. I was like, "Oh, Talisker 10-year-old whiskey is one of my favourite types of whiskies," and he just bought it for me. And oh, it's beautiful. I love it. It just like, oh, oof, I could drink it all day. Yeah, I like a Talisker. How do you drink that much and not get drunk? Unhealthy habits. Hey, whoever said he's Scottish, that's racist. Does my mum speak Gaelic? Gaelic isn't a language that would be up in the Shetland Islands. The Shetland Gaelic would only be confined to the Western Islands and some of the Western Lowlands. Shetland is up northeast between the mainland and Norway. So you'd have there's the only other language would be Nordic, and that died out in like 1860s or so. You just have a very bizarre and specific accent that carries a lot of Norwegian words with it, which is quite interesting. Like my granny will say words like, "Oh, I'm feeling off a scumfished today," and you'll be like, "What the fuck does that mean?" That's just a word you just made up. But scumfished meaning hot and tired. But it's like an old Norwegian word, an old Norse word. No Gaelic. None of my family would have been Gaelic. Gaelic in Scotland, it's not like Ireland. There's only a very specific area that would have learned Gaelic. I'm going to get a small whiskey and then I will be back. This is Talisker 10-year-old. Oh. It's so good. It's just so good, so nice. Oh, so nice. What's gross and disappointing? What Scots sound like? Scots is an odd language. I'm not going to say anything about Scottish Twitter tonight or else I'll get in trouble. What's my opinion on Soot House's video on Scottish people on Twitter. I've not seen that video. I like Lagavulin as well. Lagavulin's nice, but Talisker will always be mine. Talisker is my granny's favourite as well. Yeah, let's tell this story. I remember me and my granny share a lot. I remember one Boxing Day. What we tend to do on Boxing Day before the pandemic was we used to go over to my auntie's house, and she'd cook this huge meal, and my granny would come over, and when my granddad was still with us, he'd come over, and we'd all get quite drunk. My cousin and my cousin's husband would make cocktails, and we'd all drink loads of them, and we'd have wine, and we'd have this ritual where, because my uncle was he worked in genetics at University of Edinburgh, so he got lots of like students from China, and he got lots of Muay Thai, Chinese sort of rice wine liqueur, and we'd always do shots of that after our meal. And one year my auntie, who's normally very straight-laced, she got quite drunk, and me and my brother Neil, we were standing next to each other and chatting to my auntie, and my auntie goes, Neil, you were always my favourite of all of my nephews and nieces. And I was just sitting there like, Jackie, come on, what's this? I'm standing right here. And she goes, don't worry, John, you're my second favourite, and you're your granny's favourite. And I'm convinced to this day it's because we both have the exact same taste in whiskey. It's so nice. Have I ever taken any maths? So, that's an interesting thing. So, in school, I always went more towards the sciences, partly because everybody always told me I was very much like my dad, and my dad was a social scientist, and I was like, I won't be like my dad, I'll be a scientist. So I did physics and maths and stuff, and like the higher level in like British and Scottish schools is like first and second year university level in the US, kind of that sort of level of maths and physics and chemistry. So I did those. I shouldn't have done them because I wasn't suited to them, but yeah, I did that stuff. How do I feel about pheasants, or is your bird hate purely limited to multilingual owls? I feel bad for pheasants for how they're bred to be shot by Tories in the countryside. One bird that I do have beef with is peacocks. So when I was a little toddler, we went to, around Scotland there's lots of like stately homes where all lords and shit live. And one of them, about like half an hour, 40 minutes from where I grew up, was had this maze and had a bunch of peacocks in them. And when I was like a toddler, my dad, we came across these fucking peacocks, and my dad told me they were vampires because he thought it would be funny. He saw me freaking out about these birds. He was like, and I was like, Dad, what are these birds? And he was like, they're vampires. Stay away from them, or they'll drink your blood. At which point, I burst out in tears and developed a pathological fear of peacocks because I thought they were going to kill me and drink my blood. While my mum and dad were both laughing at me for several years afterwards. And yeah, so peacocks can go to hell for being vampires. My parents always said the reason they had kids was to have people to make fun of them. To people who they could make fun of. It's good whiskey. Should we try? Let's try something else. Try a slightly different vibe. Okay, let's try. We can try like a raconteurs kind of White Stripes kind of vibe. Let's see what comes out here. Someone, is this live from Glasgow, Edinburgh? No, this is from London. I'm in London, not in Glasgow. I used to be in Glasgow for years and years and years, and I'm from Edinburgh, but we're in London now. Special place in hell for seagulls. As long as you've never met Aberdeen seagulls, you're fine. Yeah. Do I believe in open borders? I absolutely do. Yeah, of course. Open borders are a necessity. Borders are one of the main tools of oppression of the modern age. We need one of the easiest ways that we could increase justice in the world right now is to abolish all borders at this moment. Borders are a very recent phenomenon, and like in the way that they've existed now, they've only existed since post World War I. Get rid of them. There's no point in them. Stupid. Would I agree that Edinburgh is basically England? I think it was Ewan Gibbs. Might have been Ewan Gibbs, who is a Scottish historian, made the point that Edinburgh wants to be the British city, but is more quintessentially Scottish, whereas Glasgow wants to be the Scottish city, but is more quintessentially English. And I agree with that. Like, Glasgow has more in common with Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle than it does with Aberdeen or Edinburgh. But I can't think of any English city that has the same vibe as Edinburgh does, and I don't necessarily mean that positively. I I like Edinburgh, but I don't think I am by no means like I don't think Scotland is better than England in any normative sense. I do think the idea that Edinburgh is necessarily more English than Glasgow is an interesting cultural phenomena. I think it's quite like historically, culturally, Glasgow, Manchester, Newcastle have all had more in common with Glasgow than they have with Edinburgh, and that is interesting. Yeah. Oh, it'd be unsurprising to me if there were Appalachians in if there were Jacobins in Appalachia. Yeah, for sure. Appalachia was a massive recipient of Scottish immigrants. So in places like Columbia, South Carolina, you've got whole areas called St Andrews. You've got whole areas about Scottish immigration. It's one of those things that one of the interesting sort of anthropologies of how music developed, and particularly how like rock music or modern country developed, was the influence between Scottish and Irish immigrants into Appalachia, and how that mixed with the black music coming up from Louisiana and New Orleans and like Alabama. All that stuff came moving up and met with Appalachian music, and that's one of the sort of things that broiled together to make country, folk, western, and rock and roll eventually, which is an interesting sort of phenomenon. Yeah. Devil's advocate question: do you feel if UK opens its border, the nation will be inundated with millions of poor migrants and not be able to provide for them and collapse? I firstly don't think that the UK would be inundated with a load of hello from Mozambique. That's exciting. We've got loads of exciting people from exciting places here today. Yeah. First of all, no. The idea that the UK people want to come here is strange. People who want to come to the UK are people who either speak the language firstly, which not everyone does. A lot of people also speak French. Depending on countries, a lot of people speak German, Greek, Spanish. There's lots of different languages that people speak, and they tend to go to there first, where their families are, and that is again also not the UK. And also, in terms of like attempted immigration into the UK, illegal immigration into the UK, it's very small. So first of all, I don't think there would be a flood of immigrants, but also if there was, I don't think it would matter. The UK can and should be able to accommodate any number of people who would like to come here. We are a ridiculously wealthy country. It wouldn't Like, there's absolutely no reason why the UK would be unable to deal with huge amounts of immigration. We are a sparsely populated rich country. So, fuck that. What do I think of Syrian immigrants? The same as any immigrant. Any immigrant can come to any place at any time. Borders are a blight on this world. Just let people go where they want. That's going to be my answer to any question. Any immigrant anywhere. Borders are a blight. We abolish borders. We get rid of borders. Part of police abolition is getting rid of borders. Borders necessitate violence, so we get rid of them. That is the only answer to that question. There is no other answer. We live in Oregon, and I've been thinking not entirely seriously about where we would go if what happened in Portland in 2020 blew up. First choice was Canada, Ireland, or Scotland. There's a similar thing in Scotland compared with how, English people think of Scotland in a similar way as Americans think of Canada, as this innately sort of progressive heartland. And the thing is, it's not true. You look at any data on social attitudes in Scotland, it's the same as in England, basically. There's really no difference. We're not innately progressive. We're not innately good people. We're white people who get a lot from imperialism. Not much to it than that. We have good music, good whiskey, but we're not good people necessarily. Also, most Western European countries have aging populations, and migrants are usually young. So I'm that idea of needing immigrants to combat. I get why you would say that, and I think it's true that economies do need younger populations, but I also don't think it's a good argument for people on the left to make, because there's no justifying why immigrants should be here. They should just be here if they want to be here. People shouldn't have to justify their existence, whether or not they're here or anywhere else. So, even if they were a drain on the economy, they still should be able to come here and be that drain if they wanted to be. They're not, but fuck it. If they were, it wouldn't matter. Am I a good person? I try to be. I do my best. Maybe. The free prescriptions, yeah. Free prescriptions are good. That's the thing about the SNP. They do just enough to keep Scotland looking slightly more progressive than England. That's how they pretend to be progressive. My Gen Z, no, I think I am millennial. I'm 27. I was born in 94. I think the cut off for Gen Z is like 95 or 96. I think my wee sister is 95. I think she's on the cusp. Yeah. What we'll do, I think we'll do one more song. We'll do one more we noodle about on the guitar, and we'll wait for questions to come in. And then we'll call it a day after that. Anything coming in, then we'll I'll fuck about and see what comes up, and then we'll deal with the last question. So if I don't see your question, then I'm sorry, but otherwise, this is what we'll do. All right, let's look at this follow-up devil's advocate question. Follow-up devil's advocate question: do you think that more immigration and diversity that those groups will compete with each other, like how there is inter-ethnic conflict in Balkans and Africa. I don't know. Maybe. It doesn't really matter to me whether there is conflict between groups in immigration. If there is, then that is a deeper problem than the immigration. And there's enough conflict here, it doesn't justify excluding anyone. And part of the reason that there is exclusion and conflict is because of bordering regimes and because of capitalist notions of nationhood. So, doesn't really matter to me. What vibe are we wanting? Do we want chill? Do we want upbeat? Do we want funky? Rocky? What kind of vibe do we want from this last tune? Queens of the Stone Age. Funk, ska, chill and funky. Funky. Okay, we got vibe, we got funky. I'll see if I can add some quotes, sort of stuff in there. Scottish independence, then join the EU. I'm no fan of the EU. I mean, the reason why I think Scottish independence then rejoining the EU is bad, whereas I would have voted for remaining in the EU, is because remaining in the EU, like the Brexit vote was necessarily a right-wing project. It just was, and there's no escaping that. A Scottish independence vote and then rejoining would just seem odd to me, because the EU is a deeply neoliberal and regressive institution. I wouldn't hang any political project on the rejoining of the EU. It's not good. It's not a good place. Let's do some funk. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I fucked that one up. I'll try that again. We'll get to neoliberal capitalism uses racism as divide and conquer, because I don't think that's quite right, but we will get to that in 1 second. What's my opinion on the war of drugs and criminalisation? Decriminalise. I'm an abolitionist. I don't think drugs should be criminalised. I think all drugs should be decriminalised. All of them. Doesn't matter how bad they are. Decriminalise drugs. That's the line. There's no middle ground there. We decriminalise drugs. I'm sorry, I got the timing wrong. I'm going to do this one more time, and we're going to get it right this time. Apologies. Sims music. I mean, thank you. In a good way. Yeah, no, yeah, I fully. Rick, calling addiction a health problem, well, true medical believes power structures that benefit addiction and incarceration off the hook. Yes, I actually fully agree with that. Rick is correct. The idea that addiction is a health problem is still maintaining that idea, that problematizing idea of health. I mean, this is a very Foucauldian idea, and it's a similar sort of thing of the medicalization of disability, and the medicalization of illness, which might seem like an odd thing to say, but within a Foucauldian idea, medicalization is quite a recent phenomenon. So yeah, I fully agree. Oh, Bob Dunga, welcome. What pleasure to have you here. Everyone should subscribe to Bob Dunga. Great channel with if you're interested in gaming, really excellent documentaries and really fun subjects and lost games, and should follow Bob Dunga. What a pleasure to have you. Yeah, we're wrapping up here in a few minutes. I'm just finishing the last of my whiskey, and we're doing the last of a wee song, and then we're gonna head off. Yeah, it's been a good stream. I'm gonna do one more because this one's slightly out of time and it's annoying me. This is gonna be much more funk. the drinks gone. 10 minutes left. 5 minutes. 5 minutes left. Get your last questions in. This is the last of it. The drink's gone. We're on our way out. I got my water, don't worry, I'm a professional. Yeah, Bandcamp music is in the links to the description. Call that a night for now, guys. Remember to drink water, everyone. Have a good night. Those of us in the UK, stay safe in the storm. Those of us who are not, stay safe in the not storm. And yeah, cheers for hanging out.